Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post-closing ceremony. My name is Michael Kelly, and joining us this evening from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander John Wright. We warmly welcome the student representatives of the Simpson Prize who are joining us this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. Could I ask you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem?
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts, of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths of floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private William Lilley. Known to his family as Willie, William Lilley was born in Boer War, Queensland on the 4th of September 1883. His father was employed at the local quarry, and he probably grew up in Boer War and moved to nearby Redbank as a young man. William and his older brother David Lilley enlisted for active service in the 5th contingent of the Queensland Imperial Bushmen in February 1901. A few weeks later, they left Australia bound for South Africa. Their arrival sparked interest in Cape Town, where the newspapers noted they were a very fine lot of men. The Queensland Imperial Bushmen is one of the finest bodies of men ever landed here. The Lilleys contingent arrived in South Africa after the major set-piece battles and sieges were over, and an extended period of guerrilla-style skirmishes with the Boers had begun. By late 1901, the Queenslanders were very busy on patrol and regularly met with the enemy. Private Lilley wrote cheerful letters home about his exploits. He was described as a most determined and courageous young fellow who did not know what fear was, and his conduct when on active duty was greatly admired by his superior officers. On the 24th of December 1901, Willie wrote home saying, "We have had a good cut at the Boers, and for about an hour the bullets came down as thick as a shower of rain. There were 11 of our men wounded and 1 killed. We had another go in yesterday, and I can assure you the Boers went very smartly. We knocked a few of them over, however. The Boers shot a fine grey horse of mine the other day. Just as I was getting on my horse, a bullet went through my hat and hence into the horse's head, killing the nag on the spot. I lost no time in getting behind another man, and we made a beeline for the next hill as fast as the horse could gallop. Gaining cover, we gave the Boers a hot time. Less than 2 weeks later, the Queenslanders again engaged the enemy near the town of Onderweg. A party of Boers attacked the Queenslanders and came close to capturing one of their artillery pieces. In the sharp fight that followed, Private Lilley was killed in action. His brother David, who saw what happened, wrote to their mother, "It is hard to say poor Willie was among the dead. He was shot through the heart and never moved after he fell. Willie died like a hero. They shot him from 20 yards. Poor Willie had no pain. He just looked as if he were asleep in peace." 12 men of the 5th Queensland Imperial Bushmen were killed in the incident. 11, including Private Lilley, were buried together in the same grave near the Onderweg Spur. In the 1960s, they were reinterred in the Ermelo Cemetery. Private David Lilley and some of his comrades were greeted on their return to Australia by a large and most enthusiastic gathering at Dinmore in Queensland. Lilley was received with hearty cheers as he entered the room, but was completely overcome when a toast was proposed to comrades left behind. In March 1903, more than a year after Private Willie Lilley's death, a very large congregation assembled in St Albans Church, Goodna, on the occasion of the unveiling of a memorial tablet to the late Trooper William Lilley. The tablet read, "To the glory of God and in memory of Trooper William Lilley, QIB, who was killed in action at Onderweg, South Africa, 4 January 1902, aged 18 years, faithful unto death." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among 605 Australians who lost their lives in the Boer War. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William Lilley, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozier or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's closing ceremony. Thank you very much for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you good evening.